Hello, welcome to Math 98. I'm going to go through the syllabus here quickly, and I want to make sure that you understand that we're going to have monitored tests, or face-to-face proctored tests, I call them. So you will need during this course for 5 tests, we'll have a review of chapters 1 through 3 test. Chapter 4, Chapter 5, Chapter 6 tests will be face-to-face proctored, and then the final will be like a take-home test. And the tests make up 60% of your grade, so I want to make sure you understand that part. In the homework and the quizzes are the best approach. They do affect your grade, but the best approach to this is to think of them as trying to get you as prepared as well as possible for these critical tests. So just here is the course, Math098-5413. This is my name. Hi. And here's my email address, my cell phone number. And if we want some office hours to get together, I usually do some live online sessions during the quarter. I'll announce those, or you can ask to get something so we can get a little bit more looking at the same page. Usually I just share a screen and talk through some problems and with an online session with your computer. Here's the textbook. And hopefully you've got the access code by now. Here's what's recommended. You use a TI-30 calculator or equivalent. Here's the objectives we're going to go through, and these tests will be announced and given. In fact, the whole schedule for the quarter is attached to this syllabus. So, but during these tests you will not be able to bring any notes in, and just be able to use a calculator and scratch paper. And then I collect that scratch paper. I should probably rename that. It's really like the written portion of the test, which we do online with this My Math Lab too. But I'll go through on the actual chapter tests. I'll go through, look at your paper that you hand in, and look for on problems that you got wrong. I'll look through your work and see if you understand the concepts. And if you made just a simple math error and got the wrong answer, then I'd usually give you quite a bit of credit for that question. So it's important to approach that in an organized manner so I can understand which question you're working on, and also that it's in a algorithm style, a step-by-step process of going through solving equations is a lot of it. So they're based on here the grades. It's 10% of the grade is homework, quizzes are 30%, and tests are 60% of your quarter grade. And so they're weighted that way, and we'll talk about that a little bit more probably during the course. But it's kind of like you have, if there were 100 points for the entire quarter, you could get up to 10 points on assigned homework, 30 points on quizzes, and 60 points on tests. And that's an average of the grades for each one of those. So if you, like on homework, you got an average of an 80% on all your homework, you would get 8 points towards your quarter grade, and so on. Here's how I do the letter grades that goes into your grades for the quarter. And this My Math Lab, or the access code, this next section is very specific to how to get into this online course. And I have it in very large print here. Do not wait for financial aid to access this online tool. You'll get too far behind. It's a pretty rigorous schedule. There's a lot of homework and a lot of quizzes, and to get ready for these tests. And the tests are scheduled in 2-day windows, which I'll show you here in a little bit. The homework, I allow you to go back and try to improve your grade on things even past due date. But in this My Math Lab, you go to this website, register, select student, confirm your information needed, select OK, register now. This is all, should be just the way it shows up on your screen in this order. The course ID is Maher, M-A-H-E-R 35092. Hit continue. Enter the existing account username and password to sign in. So if you already have a username and password, like you took Math93 and you have an access code and you created an account with that, I think it's active for 2 years after you take your first course with it or something. I'm not quite sure. Pearson is the provider of this product, and that changes sometimes. So, but if you've got an account already, you just log into that account and then find this, find the user ID basically, and then you come in and you sign in. If you have an account, if you have ever used My Math Lab or Mastering a Product, even if you have done it, 3 years ago, you still probably need to come into the same account. You might have to put in an access code to it again to make it active. You select your access option, enter the access code that came with your textbook or that you purchased separately at the bookstore. You can, it is available for your course. You can buy access with a credit card or PayPal, or go to temporary access. So if you don't have a code, this is a part where I say do not wait for financial aid. If you don't have a code or you haven't bought your book, if you have the code, there's an online book that is very easy to use. I think it works very well. You may not need to buy the paper book, but you can come in right here with temporary access. I think it gives you 2 weeks that you can work in here before you have to pay for that course or for that access code. Okay, so once you're in, either with a bot access code, or if you're in a temporary access code, when you come in back later again, you click sign in. You use your username that you create and password and sign in. You select this course, which is Math098-5413, and you start to work. Now, if you did get a temporary access, when you do get your access code, you go through these 5 steps. You sign in, enter your Pearson username and password. You already have that, and select upgrade access to this actual course. You enter that access code, or you can buy an access code with a credit card or PayPal at that point. Very important to get right in here. I usually look after 4 or 5 class days, and I see that you haven't got into this My Math Lab platform. I just figure that you're not going to take the course, and we'll try to get that reported to the registrar's office. So it's like not showing up for class at the beginning of class. So make sure you get in there right away. Stuff about dropping, I think February 22nd. This homework, when we get into the platform, the lectures are attached to the homework, and I can see how much time you spend on there. So make sure you look at these lectures, and very useful tools that are available anytime you need them will be attached to homework. And the homework is set up so that when you do a problem, if you get the wrong answer, it will allow you to reattempt that. And basically you could go and never get a wrong answer, because it'll just keep repeating until you get the right answer. Now, there is some time management to that. If you're lost, don't spend a half hour working on one problem, and then do that. What the idea is that if you have a problem, go back to your materials, ask me a question. There's a way to ask the instructor, and it gets emailed to me, and plus you got my phone number and email address. So the other part about that is your grades are online too. You'll see a pretty good snapshot of where you're at the quarter at any given time, except that when we're in chapter 4, if you have not done some of your chapter 4 assignments, they're just sitting as non-attempted yet, and you don't do that, and you go ahead and take your quiz and your chapter 4 test and don't go back and do that, I'll set those scores to a 0 after the test is taken. And you might see, you're thinking, well, I'm looking pretty good on homework, and then these zeros get applied. That's the only place that happens. So it's not a big swing in your quarter grade, except it looks like it at the very beginning, because there's not a lot of grades in that first. Well, the only thing we're doing at first is homework. The quizzes are scheduled. They do have an opening date, which I'll announce, and it's on your schedule. But the schedule I'm giving you has the due dates. I allow you to take multiple quizzes during this window of time. So if the quiz opens at a certain time, like probably sometimes about 3 or 4 days before the chapter test, it opens. And you'll have most of the time up to 3 attempts at that quiz. And I only use the best score out of it. So if the first attempt you got 50%, I would expect you to go back, try to figure out what you got wrong, do it again, and maybe you're up to 75%. The last time you take the quiz, those 2 attempts, I would hope that you take it like you have to take the chapter test, and then it'll tell you where you're at and where you are with your material. It's a pretty good pre-test for the chapter test. But on that last attempt for the quiz, get your book out, use your resources, do the best you can, because you want that top score to be as high as possible, because that does affect your grade. So if you got a 50%, a 75%, and then a 90%, all that goes into your grade book is a 90% on that quiz. Now the tests are given during a scheduled 2-day window under the supervision of me, a teacher, or a proctor. The proctors are available to be scheduled up in OMAC. There's a testing center. And if you're in a place where you don't have access to the OMAC campus or the Wenatchee campus, I do use the regional libraries as the main librarians as a proctor. And so it isn't locked in that you have to come into Wenatchee for these tests if it's, if you're very remote. I've actually had one student take a test in, which country was it? No, I forget now. That was a couple years ago. I think it was the Philippines. And what we did there is she had to initiate. I told her that she should look for a community college of some type there and see if they do proctoring. And she did find one, and we worked it out so she could take that test while she was helping her mother. So, but those need to be arranged prior to that. So if you're in a special situation and stuff like that, make sure that you understand that and get ready to look for a proctor that you can get to. And there's special populations. If you need any extra help, there's testing services that are downstairs, and basically they may set up a contract to give you some enhancements to help you get through this course. Here's the schedule for the quarter. There's an intro assignment, so here's the assignment name, and that's a homework category, so that sits in that 10% of your quarter grade. It is due today. I'm recording this on the 2nd. And then there's an important notes. I'm just this first part of the course, I'm just quickly going through what is offered or what has gone through, what objectives we've done in Math 93, because this is a continuous course or continuation through the book. If you are real weak on some of this material in here, it'll really make it tough to get through this course. So I have one homework assignment. It's a longer one. It's a review of the whole chapter 1, and that's due on the 3rd. The quiz is due Monday the 7th, and it's open already, but I recommend you do the homework first, and then these quizzes you can do up to 3 times. And then we have a homework assignment for chapter 2, quiz for chapter 2, and the same for 3. Now that's different than we'll do in the rest of the course, basically what I consider when we're really in Math 98 when we get to chapter 4. But during this proctored test, that means that you're going to come into campus. I'll have a room available with computers. You'll need to know how to log into a campus computer. And I'll give you some paper to work on, and I'll have some calculators available that are TI-30s are available, basically a non-programmable calculator. And in this case, you could come in or arrange a proctor on Wednesday sometime during the day, and then on Thursday I'm proctoring a session the evening, afternoon and evening of Thursday, January 17th. Usually start about 4:30. I got another class that's going on, and then I'll go till about 8:30. And what I'm trying to do is if you have a night work, you can come in the late afternoon and get your test done and go to work, or if you work till 5 or 6, you can still come in and have time to finish the test before 8:30 when I finish the session. So chapter 4 starts here. This is Math 98. We got homework. Although it has the dates, I have in here, it says on the 23rd of January, it says arrangements for proctoring chapter 4 test due. So I expect you to, we've been through a proctor test. Hopefully everybody will understand the requirements for that. I do seem to have problems with some students don't understand or think that they can take this test at home or something like that. That won't work in this course. I know some courses do it that way. So if these arrangements, if you can make it to my session, which I'll tell you when they are, it's usually a Tuesday or a Thursday. Same thing, probably about 4:30 to 8:30. You can come in during that block of time and do your tests. As long as you come in time to finish before 8:30 is fine. But if you have to get a librarian or you're someplace else with a closer community college, you need to have those arrangements made. You need to initiate that. Find that. Send me notice of that. Make sure that it's okay for me for that proctor. I don't use old high school teachers, friends of the family, those kinds of things. So it has to be, usually the only things I accept are regional libraries or other instructors in other community colleges. So you'll need to make those arrangements. If you're close to Wenatchee, that'll be pretty easy. Or OMAC too, because there's a center there that you just need to make the appointment, and then you will tell me through a form basically when you're going to take that test. So we go through the homework. It's about one assignment every day. Then the quiz is, I think, you're going to open up probably on Thursday, January 31st or somewhere around here. Usually I'll set the quiz so it's due somewhere in that testing time. So you can use it as a study method before this quiz, or test, excuse me. So then I'll open up the proctored test. You could schedule like a librarian on Monday, and then on Tuesday I'll have a session, but you could take the test on Monday in OMAC or at a library or another community college. So it follows that pattern. Here's chapter 5. The test for that's the 21st, 22nd of February. Chapter 6, so on. And then we have a little bit of homework on chapter 8, which is about systems. So you get a little exposure to that. And then the final will open up at 8 a.m. on the first day of finals and close at 5 p.m. on the last day of finals. This is like a take-home test. It'll be similar to these chapter tests. It'll open up, but it won't have a password. So as soon as you're ready to come in and start working on that, and you can work for an hour and log out of your My Math Labs and come back and continue to work and so on. But when you hit submit the test on that, that means I've handed the test in. And that's pretty much the course. Hopefully we get a chance to talk and look for announcements. One other very important thing, when you get on My Math Lab, put in an email address, because I use email through this system a lot. So first, get used to reading email. And also use an email address that usually what works best for students is an email address that they have attached to your phone or something that you use every day. So you check and see if there's an announcement for something that's going to happen within the class. So hope you have a good winter quarter, and we'll talk or see you online soon.